Hello and welcome to Black Crow Gaming's Adeptus Custodes video. I am your host Arron, and this week we are going to be doing an Adeptus Custodes tier review. And the reason that is because there's been some changes to our beloved Adeptus Custodes. There's been some massive changes. We've had 2 new detachments in the last sort of 3-4 months, which is big. There's been a data slate, there's been the field manual, and there's been some serious changes in the meta. And I did a tier review when Solar first came out, but I think now it's more appropriate to do a tier review because actually we've had another detachment drop. Now, here's the caveat. All of these rankings are going to be based on the fact that all of these units are in their best performing detachment. Okay? So they're all in the best performing detachment they could be in. Simples. And that's that. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you about my wonderful sponsors. If you want to be able to buy some more of these miniatures, including these, or go to events, go to Glasshammer Gaming. Type in Black Crow in the coupon code and you get an additional 5% off, which is just beautiful. If you like bespoke terrain and you're enjoy having the coolest looking tabletop, go to Terrain Forge. Have a look at those for me, folks. They do amazing WTC terrain, UKTC terrain, and it looks phenomenal. If you go to our battle reports, you can see them in action. They just look great. And if you put in BCG5, you get another additional 5% off. And if you really like our content, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. And if you really like our content, any super thanks that you may want to give would just be amazing. Super thanks is a way of just donating to our to Black Crow Gaming, and it gives us a little bit of extra money to be able to upgrade and provide better content, which is something we're really trying to achieve. Right. Who's ready for a tier review? I love a good tier review. Let's talk tier review. So, the first one is the sister character, which I've forgotten the name, which is called a Knight Centura. So the Knight Centura is pretty good in Lions. I'm not gonna lie. Like it can actually give really interesting buffs, and I think the most interesting buff it gives is actually that +2 to movement, +2 to charge, and you couple that with sort of the sisters units, it makes them really good. And I think this particular model belongs in B tier, and I'll explain why. In Lions, obviously, they're given the +1 to hit, +1 to wound, really benefits the sisters units. That model there can actually really make Vigilators, Witch Seekers, and so on and so forth really fast getting around the board. And it takes like a 6-inch move to an 8-inch move. It obviously has scouts, so you can put it in a big blob of Witch Seekers, for example, or a big blob of Vigilators. And in this latest attachment, it's actually very good. Now, I haven't tested it yet, but I'd love to see someone do 10 Flamers, shoot up the board, or 11 Flamers with the Knight Centura, shoot out the board, and just absolutely roast somebody with that +1 to wound. I'd be interested to see how much damage it actually does. But with that lack of AP, I can't imagine it's a huge amount. But against chaff units, it's certainly going to hurt. And Alea, very similarly, she belongs in B tier as well. Now, she gives some nice fights first energy to those Vigilators. And so when you've got Alea and Vigilators in combat, they do slap. However, they will die quickly from shooting. And that's rather sad. There are some ways of protecting them, don't get me wrong, in certain detachments, and that does make them good, but this is why these two characters are now gone up in B tier. They're also in B tier simply because they've both been made cheaper, making them more accessible to the army, so it's not such a tax or burden slotting them in, and I like that. Now we've got Valerian. Valerian is a bit meh. I think he's pretty good in Lions, but again, it's that delivery system of getting somewhere. His strength 8 is nice. The strength, the AP 3 is nice. 2 damage is good. But when you couple him against Trajan, Trajan's just flat better. But I think actually he belongs in B tier. So he's okay. There's going to be a lot of B tier here. But people, if you don't agree with me, please let me know. Right, next is the big glow up. Custodian Guard. They went down in points to 170 points. But what makes them even better is when you couple them with the correct characters. Putting them together with Inquisitors and that dev wound potential just makes their firing output, shooting output, hideous. Absolutely hideous, especially in Lions. But they're still good in Shield Host, Talons, and so on. And that bangs them straight up to S tier, baby. I think they are S tier level. They're that good. Next is Sagittarium. Now, I would love Sagittarium to be good. Their rules are okay, but with no access to rerolls to wound, largely they're not that great because of AP1 and there's cover all over the place. And most things are just getting their armor save. And yeah, they probably will put out a lot of wounds, especially in Lions. But again, it's pretty bang average. So they belong still in C tier. Next, we've got up the Blade Champion. He belongs right up here. The Blade Champion has been the staple in just about every Custodes army since the beginning of 10th. Move, advance, and charge is just so strong for Adeptus Custodes, and it's just insane not to include him in the S tier category. And just about every army, you want to put them with Wardens or you want to put them with Custodian Guard. I love him. They're just excellent. Next, we have a Land Raider. Now, a Land Raider in Solar could be quite interesting. It could go through walls, but its biggest weakness for a Land Raider is that it's just so big. And because it's so big, it struggles to get around the board. So, for that reason, I think I'm going to put it in C, in bottom of top of C. I may regret that and put it bottom of B, but you know. Look, what can I say about the trusty Rhino? A Rhino is a Rhino, and that belongs in C tier. It does nothing other than transport your units. Next, we have the ladies of our detachment, the Witch Seekers. Now, Witch Seekers are very good in Lions. They've got a bit of a glow up. They're good in Old Maiden, I suppose, I guess. And they're good in Talons. They are our action monkeys. They do all of the work so that our very killy units don't have to go do them. And they all belong in B. I'm putting Witch Seekers to the top of those three because I think that they just do a better job. But Vigilators are very good with a layer going into the Lions. Very strong. They're great in Talons. Prosecutors are just good at holding objective, being OC2. Very nice. Next we have the Shield Captain. The Shield Captain belongs up here, S tier, because he's the Shield Captain in Alaris. Why do I think he's so good? The Shield Captain in Alaris in the Lions detachment is insanely strong. Very hard to kill. Very durable. You basically put them in front of your opponent and you laugh at them in Shield Captain noises. You can get it back up. You can turn all damage to 1. That's incredibly tough. Good damage output. Solid. And I believe now Terminators go up into A tier. And why do I think they're an A tier unit? Because the way that they work in Lions, being able to be split up to be action pieces, is really strong. But also in Shield Host, in Lions, in Talons, they're just really good. I think we probably slept on them for a while because obviously Wardens and Blade Champions were so good, but they have all gone up in points, which has meant that we've had to kind of look elsewhere. Because if you tech for 3 blobs of Wardens, 3 Blade Champions, you're all of a sudden running out of quite a lot of points. So a large Terminators have become really important, and they're featuring quite a lot of lists. Next is Trajan. Trajan is a beat stick. It will always be a beat stick. He'll always do loads of damage. In Lions, he's got way better because he can reuse his once per battle ability. So that makes him bottom of A tier, I think. Very strong. I'd even consider running him solo. He'll do so much damage. Next up, we have the wonderful Wardens. Everybody knows where Wardens are going to go. They are just going to go straight to the tippy top of S tier. And why are they going straight to the tippy top of S tier? Because they are so goddamn durable. They just live forever. They're so strong. Your opponent has to commit so much to kill them. And if you press with multiple units at the same time, it could be really overloading for an opponent. And they're just really strong. And that's why they go there. You can make them OC free without sacrificing attacks. They're just good. Next, we have jet bikes. Now, the Dawn of Evil jet bikes are good, and they got made better. And they went up in points, but they got made to tough of 7, 5 wounds. I think they belong in top of B. Because they struggle to get round terrain. I think they're better on WTC terrain, and I think they're alright on Games Virtual terrain, and I think they struggle on UKTC. That's just my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong, folks. Tell me if I'm wrong. Next, we've got the Shield Captain on Dawn of Evil jet bike. He's a lot of points to get the most out of him, but in Shield Host and other, he's got some good tricks. and I think he goes just below the jet bikes, and I think they kind of sit nicely in B. Next, we've got the trusty shield captain. Now, the shield captain's good and got made way better in lines, and it gives you that access to the -1 to the cost of stratagems. So I think they probably sit in B tier as well. Because you got to think, look at the caliber that's in the S and A. Does that shield captain sit up there? I don't think so. Next, with the Adeptus Dreadnought. And I think this got better with the way Solar changed. I think it's really resilient. I think it looks really tasty with that enhancement on. And I think it belongs in A tier. Right there. I just think it looks good. I like it. Next, we've got the Pyripherite Spears. Now, God, why, oh, why? I want these to be amazing. I like them, but their short range makes them they're just Custodian Guard with melters, but cost more. They don't have the double tap feature, which makes them slightly less efficient. They're re-rolling to wound on ones. In lines, I can see them being quite good. But again, it's that 12-inch. I suppose if you didn't have if you weren't taking bikes and you were just going all foot custodians, you might consider taking a unit of them just for that anti-tank. But actually, whatever you touch in combat pretty much dies with custodians nowadays. So I'm going to say they're probably a C tier unit. And that's just because of their points and utility. Next is the Palace Graph Tank. I don't see a use of the Palace Graph Tank in any shape or form. It's 100 points. Its gun is naff. It doesn't do any damage. It's very fast, sure. It's okay in solar, but it's not great. The Coronis Grav Tank, again, it's an awful lot of points for a huge piece of resin that you probably doesn't really do a great deal. And yes, if you put Sagittarium in there, you can get the Sagittarium out and you get this reroll to wound. But again, not too fussed by that, and I don't think it's worth 200 points. Next up, we have the Achilles Dreadnought. I like the Achilles Dreadnought. I think it's good. The only problem with it is it's not as durable as the other Dreadnoughts in its class. So those like the Venerable and the Galatus. And I think it kind of sits in B tier around the same way as the Shield Captain. It does put out a lot of damage. The mortal wound damage, generally the spear and lance, it does the work. But again, not convinced. Next up, we have our faithful Caladius Grav Tank, and they are arguably the best tank in the game, and they sit right at the tippy top of S tier, right up there. Amazing, really love them. They do so much work. They're just really good to use. Next up, we have the other variant of Dorney, and that is the Agamatus or Aga jet bike. Whatever you call them. They've got that move, shoot, move ability, which is quite nice. And they've got some okay guns, but not great. That again, AP1 seems to hurt custodian weapons. I don't know why they felt the need to give us so much AP1, but again, they are huge. They don't suffer from pivot, but they're massive. I think they belong in C tier. I may be wrong. Someone out there, if you've had some success using these guys, let me know. But remember, they're only T6 and they've only got 4 wounds. They did not get the benefits that Dorney and Dreadnoughts. I think that is an oversight. They should have been T7 and 5 wounds each. But for some reason, Warhammer Games Workshop hasn't updated anything in our Forge World units. And that does make me worry that maybe they're not long for this world, but we'll see. Next, we have the Aquilin Terminators. I love the Aquilins. They look so cool. But again, they're just not as good as our Terminators. But I think the Flamers have play. And I think that they belong here. Again, a lot of these units are going into B tier. And the reason they're going into B tier is because actually we've been given a lot more versatility in the way we build lists. And that's a really cool thing to do. How do I feel about the Orion and Ares gunships? Now, I'm going to do both of them, and I'm just going to put them both in D. They're an awful lot of points. You'll only ever see them in the Apocalypse game, and they're just not suitable for competitive 40k at this moment in time. Fact. Next, we have the beautiful Venatari. They still belong in A tier in my opinion. They are excellent in shield host. They're excellent in solar. They're excellent in talons. They're excellent in lines. I love them. They are just consistently good at what they do and what you need them for, and I think that they're very acceptable in where they belong. Next, we have the venerable Contemptor Dreadnought. The staple of just about all good solar lists was having 3 of these in, because they're just really good to trade off objectives. And I think because of that, they still belong up in A tier. Being able to res one of those was really useful, and they're still really good. Next, we have the Telemon, and I feel a bit bad about the Telemon because the Telemon got a bit of a nerf. I'm not sure it really warranted it. All they needed to do was increase that enhancement cost. And that was it. They don't put out that much damage. They're just really resilient. And I think that they're still very good, but I think they're bottom of A. Why do I think they're bottom of A? Because that is, quite frankly, where they think they are. Like, Solar changed, okay? So the stratagem word changed. You can't go through models anymore, but you can go through walls in the movement and the combat phase, which is pretty good. But I think that actually makes the Contemptor Dreadnoughts better, and the Telemons are still good, but I don't think they're necessarily auto-take. I think Solar is actually still really good in the meta, and some people out there have done quite well, and I do sit there and think, like, I want to play Lines, because I think Lines is one of our coolest attachments, but Solar is still, like, really awesome. And I think we've all just kind of moved on to this new shiny thing, and I think Solar's still really good. So what I'd love for you guys to do, if you're still watching this video, is go and just let me know where some of your Solar lists. If you could just post them in the comments, I'd love to see them, especially with like the new changes and updates. So folks, that is my tier review. What do you think? Let me know if you agree. Tell me if I'm wrong. Review it for me. Tell me what you think. I'd love to know. I've been Arron from Black Crow Gaming. I will be back with another episode next week. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much.